Something stood in the entrance, tall, straight, wrong. Not hunched, not broken by the bloom's twisting, but balanced with the poise of a duelist. It wore the tattered remnants of ornate armor, cuirass chased with laurels and ivy, a gorget shaped like overlapping leaves, one pauldron carved into the stylized head of a lion. Red crystal had sprouted from the fissure of its jaw and bloomed into a perfect flower whose petals were cut like rubies and set with veins of darker red that pulsed as if they carried blood. Its spear was a length of obsidian rippled with trapped smoke, the leaf blade serrated with glass teeth fine as hair. When it moved, the weapon sang, a thin, eager whistle, as if air were a throat begging to be cut. Its eyes were not eyes. Behind the helm, a depthless red glow watched them with patient contempt. The creature's arrival had not been heralded by footfalls. It had been preceded by a drift of red petals, too many for any sane wind this far from trees, and the faint scent of mortar dust and iron. It had come like a memory of an arena, the hush before a gate lifts, the taste of copper at the back of the tongue, the crowd's breath held as one. The failed seeds, it spoke, its voice a layered chorus of whispers echoing the gardener's sermon. The broken instruments, the bloom is unity. You are discord. You must be pruned. Alanor stepped forward, centering his weight, blade angled low. Name yourself. The helm canted, almost amused. Names are for the unmade, but if you require a title to hold in your mouth before you die, it bowed the barest fraction, courtly and obscene. I am the Gladiator-Saint, first bloom of the pits. Saint of gladiators, Eva murmured, sickened by the cool pride in the thing's voice, as if the bloom consecrates slaughter. The garden sanctifies all craft, the Gladiator-Saint replied. War, harvest, judgment. The spear's tip made a crescent in the air and came to rest, pointed at Alanor's breast. Begin. The battle that followed was unlike their previous encounters. This was not the staggering violence of the newly hollowed, nor the animal cunning of the ash-lurkers. The Gladiator-Saint fought as if dueling were a language he had spoken since birth. His footwork was clean, 3s and 5s weaving into a lattice that moved him always a half-step off Alanor's line. His spear met Severance with a crisp economy, the obsidian edge glancing at the last instant to turn the steel aside without ever committing to a bind. Alanor's first 2 cuts sketched a cross. The saint smiled with its whole body and unwrote the cross with a spiral, driving a palm up the haft to shorten the spear in a breath and strike like a knife. Alanor slipped inside the radius and felt the saint's plated knee crash toward his thigh. He caught it on his own with a shock that rang his teeth and slid back, breath sharp, eyes thinning to points of ice. Eva hurled bolts of ether, firming them into lances bright as lightning. The saint changed the shape of his silhouette as they flew. Hips turned, shoulders canted, so the ether lances parted around him like a stream split by a stone. The air around the saint thickened with invisible order. Eva sensed it with a cold shudder, a pressure front where her chaos could not take root, a script that told the world how to dodge. Your power is chaos, the saint chimed without looking at her, the words almost tender. The garden is order. He fenced Alanor backward, step by calculated step, until the worm husk's ringed ribs crowded his shoulders. The saint's spear blurred, high cut, low feint, thrust, and Severance rang and rang, sparks skittering across the pale floor. Alanor turned the thrust and cut to wrist. The saint released with that hand and rolled the spear over the back of his forearm, catching the haft again nearer the blade in one fluid motion that stole Alanor's angle. The obsidian edge kissed steel and pride, a lock like a locksmith's trick. Severance leapt from Alanor's grip and skittered across bone to come to rest in a far ring of the husk. The spear's point settled over Alanor's heart. Pruning, the Gladiator-Saint said, and the word was a benediction. It drew back to strike. Alinor! Eva screamed, the sword's vision burning through her panic. The sword's memory! Trust the blade, not your eyes! Alinor did not hesitate. He threw himself into a roll, shoulder brushing the saint's knee, felt the spear's head whisper past his ribs. He slid on his hip through grit and old dust, reached, and his fingers closed around Severance's hilt. He did not rise to a guard. He closed his eyes.